good evening.
Hello.
My name's Alan, and on behalf of my co-host Wistancia and the crew of the show and the staff of KCTV, I'd like to welcome you all to another show of Bridging Heaven and Earth. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all again for all the calls we got. And I do have some information. A lot of people called about our guest last week, Julianne Everett, who was a spiritual teacher, if you saw the show, and an author. And she has written a book that was unavailable at the local stores because I guess a lot of people were watching the show and were really taken with what she had to say. So I understand that the books are on reorder, and they should be coming in. Either they're in or they should be in soon. So if people are interested in that, I guess they're going to be available pretty soon. And thanks again for the calls and all the encouragement. And tonight we have a very powerful show. We have people involved in, they've been involved in the spiritual path for a long time, and now they're involved with, I guess you'd call it the reemergence of the world teacher, Lord Maitreya, the new Christ. And we have video tonight to show you some interesting things about it, and we have a talk with Patrick and Marc about it. And it's a very powerful and interesting story, and we're glad to be able to bring it to you. So at this time, as we normally do, Wistancia will lead us in an invocation and a meditation, and then we'll see a clip. So it should be exciting. So, Wistancia?
Thank you. One thing I wanted to say before I go into the invocation, I want to talk for just a second about the power of invocations, because something happened after the last show. I was driving with someone in my car, and we were on the freeway. Actually, it was about 3 shows ago. And we were driving on the freeway, and I was taking her home, and somebody came up in a truck, and they were harassing us, and they followed us for about 10 miles, and they were really dancing around us, coming up behind us and on the sides, and they weren't saying nice things to us either. And so I turned to her and I said, wow, let's do an invocation right here, right now. And so right then we called upon the angels, we called upon Lord Michael to protect us, and we blessed this person and sent love and light to the person, and it was right there, in the line of, kind of like danger. And it was very, very powerful, because until I did that, he was following us. And then as soon as I called the angels and the masters to come and help us and come to our aid and love him, then they were there. They were there, and then he just exited off the freeway. It was just amazing. We looked at each other, and tears were just pouring down our faces. We were just like crying. It was like, wow, why didn't I remember that 10 miles ago? And it's so powerful, because when we make the call and we're sincere and we're coming from our heart, the spiritual hierarchy for the earth, they have to respond to us. It is their kind of their covenant with Father, Mother, God, that they will respond to us, for they are working for the good of humanity and for the good of each of us. So it's really powerful. And then the other thing I wanted to say really, really fast was that I met someone today, and he said, oh, I saw your show last week. Isn't it called Bridging the Gap Between the Sun and the Moon? Anyway, at the time I laughed and I said, no, it's not called that. It's called Bridging Heaven and Earth. And then I went, that's really what it is, though. It's bridging all the gaps. That's really the work that's happening now in this world. Is what we're trying to do as we come into oneness, is bridge all the gaps between the sun and the moon, between each other, between angels and the humans and all the kingdoms. It's just, we are bridging all the gaps. And yes, the sun and the moon, because those are heavenly bodies too. Those are beings of light, conscious ones. So he was right. And so, anyway, let's move into an invocation. We call forth now to Father, Mother, God. We come as gods and goddesses, as children of the light. We come as Christed men and Christed women. We come as a daughter and as a son of God, each of us. And we stand before that power of Source. And we ask to be filled with light. We ask to grow within the light, to feel the light that's streaming forth into our worlds now and into our bodies. And we call forth that light and that love to come now into our beings, into our consciousness, into our emotional body, our physical body, our mental body, and the etheric body, so that it can be truly seen and felt and heard within us, so that our awakening can really move forward, so that we can see and feel tangibly the play of light in this world. And so we call now to the office of Christ, we call to Lord Sananda, Lord Maitreya, all those who work to bring the Christ race to live upon the earth, that we may come into the sunshine of our true existence, that we might come into the rushing energies of purity and love, and really bridge the gap between heaven and earth. We come, we ask with an open heart to be filled, that the archangels come and resonate their divine qualities to us. In this moment, wherever we are, let's link with each other heart to heart. Let's link with the kingdoms, with the animal kingdoms, with the whales and the dolphins. Let's link with the angels. We call forth on our left side, we call forth the guardian angel that was assigned to us at our birth. On our right, we call forth to the body elemental, asking that our bodies be prepared for this time of change, of radiance approaching, to move into the age of light with strength and vitality, that we might be resurrected, so that we are that collective body of Christ. And that let Christ consciousness now pour forth onto the earth like never before. And let each of us, our hearts be like a chalice to accept it, and let our cups run and be filling and to overflowing. This we ask and more, to find out who and what we are and what our mission here is. This we ask. And now we ask for the great beings of light and our own I Am presence and higher selves to sit with us now in a moment of meditation. And let this moment be like no moment that's gone before. Let this moment be one more step for mankind, one more step for humankind into the peace, up the stairway of the heart, into the love. So we take a breath together and we breathe light into the heart, moving into the silent sanctuary together, so that we can be a blessing to all life. Thank you. And so we're going to have a clip in just a moment, and I guess Alan will introduce the clip because he was watching it in the other room. He knows a little bit more about it than I do. So maybe we can just turn it over to Alan, and he can talk to us about this clip whenever we're ready.
The last stop on our journey is Kenya. Here too there are said to be healing waters, but we have come to visit an unusual woman who is well known throughout the country and venerated by many people. Mary Sinaida Akatsa. She is a person full of faith and a powerful joy of life, which she passes on to many people. Members of the church she founded wear white and blue gowns. Mary Akat says that Jesus himself gave her these colors as a sign, in order that one could identify oneself as a child of God under one faith. Untiringly, this simple woman travels through the country to the people, most of whom live in poverty. Wherever she arrives, she is immediately surrounded by crowds. Like many other third world countries, Kenya suffers from unemployment, crime, drug abuse, and prostitution. Mary Akatsa knows the people's sorrows and goes on undeterred, giving comfort and help. Because of her compassion, people lovingly and respectfully call her Mommy. Three times a week, she gives healing ceremonies in Kawangware, a slum in Nairobi, with prayers, songs, and preaching. Here, on June the 11th, 1988, an extraordinary event took place, which many newspapers and the TV station CNN reported. The people believed that Jesus Christ had personally appeared before them. A journalist from the magazine Kenya Times was an eyewitness. His report starts a week before the event.
On Saturday, June the 4th, 1988, a big bright star was sighted above the skies by worshippers.
While we were filming, the unusually bright star could also be seen during the day. During the healing session on June the 11th, 1988, the mysterious event took place, which was observed by hundreds of people. Many were left totally healed. Only a few photos exist.
The tall figure of a barefooted, white-robed, and bearded man appeared from nowhere and stood in the middle of the crowd.
Watu wote walianguka chini, wakajawa wengine na furaha, wengine wakajawa na kilio kwa maana wameona kila hawajaona tangu wazaliwe.
When he appeared, people had no idea what was happening. Many of them fell down. Others began to cry and repent their sins, and continued to do so even after Jesus had disappeared, and we had begun singing new healing songs again. Since that day, hordes of people have been coming to Kawangware, repenting their sins and being healed and saved. But it is not me who heals, it is the power of God that heals through me.
It appeared to them the Son of Man had at last fulfilled his promise of coming back to earth.
The unknown person who didn't tell his name turned first to Mary Akatsa. He said, "You are an important messenger of God. Keep on preaching, never retreat. Whoever places obstacles in your path will himself be halted." Then the man spoke in Swahili without an accent to the crowd.
We are nearing the time for the reign of heaven. But before that, I shall come back and bring a bucketful of blessing for all of you.
Before he disappeared as suddenly as he had come, he paced off a path in the direction of the church.
Siku hiyo wakati mwenyewe aliingia, alisema nimeweka msalaba hapa.
Jesus said, I have put my garment here at the end of this path, and whoever comes to this place, perhaps with sickness or demons or other problems, should run along this path. When he returns at the end and runs back to Mary, all his problems will vanish, and he will be free.
Sasa wanakuwa free.
Since that day, God speaks to me. I can hear him through my ears, like somebody talking next to me. It is very loud. Before my eyes, there appears a sort of screen, and I am told, look there, or there. There is someone in the congregation. Look at him. The message is written on his chest. I can then read all the problems this person has and where they stem from.
Anaendelea kuongea na mimi kwa masikio, sauti ikitoka mbinguni kwa masikio inakuja kwa masikio.
Then I ask for him to be saved and he is healed. I get the message directly from God.
That was pretty powerful. Mary Akat is, I guess, recognized as like the Mother Teresa of that part of Africa, of Kenya, that way. And I mean, there's a very powerful message coming through there. And our guests tonight have been involved with different organizations that are involved with the re-emergence, the emergence of Lord Maitreya. When they spoke in the clip of the Christ or Jesus, I think that it's kind of confusing. I'm sure they'll speak more about it. They're much more versed in it than I am. But basically, that being is considered Lord Maitreya. He is the living Christ now at this time. So our guests tonight have been involved in the organizations that are following the reemergence and involved with the newspapers and magazines that are tracking it and then making information available to people, are Patrick Fowler and Marc Gregory, and they're very interesting and they've had long spiritual histories, and so I think it should be an interesting show, and we have another clip later on, and so here are Marc and Patrick. Hi. Good evening. Good evening.
Hi, Marc. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Hello.
So you guys are old hands at the spiritual path, I hear. What is your path, or what was your path? And maybe you could talk a little bit about how you came to the teachings of the Ascended Masters, and maybe I don't know, you probably read the Blavatsky books or some of those things.
Certainly.
I have a feeling about that.
Well, my introduction to the Ageless Wisdom teachings came about 8 years ago when I lived in Florida. And I used to listen to talk radio quite a bit, and I came across a talk radio show that Benjamin Crumb was speaking on, and he spoke to my heart with subject matters relating with the Ageless Wisdom teachings that I felt true for many, many years in my heart. And then along with this came a very startling revelation that he brought concerning the reemergence of the Lord Maitreya, of the Christ, of the reappearance that the Christians await. But not only the Christians, every religious ideology in the world has their particular head that they wait for. The Hindus await the Kalki avatar, or the return of Krishna. The Jews, of course, await the long-awaited Messiah. The Buddhists await, they have his personal name right, Maitreya Buddha. And the Christians, of course, await the reappearance of the Christ. And the Muslims await the Imam Mahdi. What they will soon realize is that they all await the same person, and that is the head of the spiritual hierarchy of this particular planetary scheme. He says he will answer to all of these names, but he prefers to be and will be known more directly as the world teacher. A world teacher that a teacher that the world of power that the world has never seen yet, and will galvanize humanity into much more sane lines of interrelations with one another, and that's basically the gist of it.
And Mark, how did you come to this?
Well, through somewhat similar lines as Patrick, I'm perhaps not the most, quote, spiritual person, unquote, that you might find. I'm actually kind of average that way. I don't have, I was really far more...
Average height, average weight?
Yeah, average mustache, the whole spiel, but anyway.
Average hair.
Average hair, too,
right.
Yeah. Now, the side of the story that appealed most to me was the practical side. As you probably know, we live in a world with enormous and, to my view, tragic economic and social discrepancies. We have a very tiny percent of the world's population that is extraordinarily wealthy, and we have an overwhelming, unbelievable majority of the world's population that lives, even many of those live in a poverty that is incomprehensible to us. Central to the world teacher's plan of return is redistributing the goods of the world, the resources of the world, and creating far more sane and just economic boundaries and means by which nations can relate to one another. Because at the present course that we're moving on, not only does the overwhelming majority of the world's population go without, in a world with a 6 to 10% per capita surplus of food and raw resources, but the rate at which the industrialized nations are consuming not only food but resources and in their, how should we put it, in their competitive economic scheme or way of functioning, is also, I think, fraught with long-term, perhaps long-term.
I think everybody would agree there's a disharmony. How does the world teacher expect to balance things out? What is his plan for this year?
Primarily,
is he running for office?
No, he has the office. The office is actually his. He's got it. And anyway, the acceptance of the principle of sharing. In more practical terms, it means making over what each country in the world has in excess of its needs to the world, so thereby all that have any need of anything can take from a world pool.
Does he have a plan for? This is what I call Christ consciousness. For each being, each person on the earth, waking up to their own Christhood, their Christ self, so that they can then act from this place of unconditional love and sharing. So I mean, do you feel that his presence just makes that change happen in people, or is he going around and teaching people how to tap into that part of themselves?
Well, that will be part of his teachings. That I think maybe what you're referring to is coming to a greater self-awareness of ourselves and who we are. I think also a part of a tragedy that exists in the world is that humanity really doesn't have a very good sense of itself. We're not aware of where we've been, where we are, and really where we're going.
We don't know who we are.
Pardon?
Most don't know who they are at all.
Yes, exactly. And this all really has to do with self-awareness, and much of his teachings will have to do with coming to a much more heightened awareness of who we are as one humanity, and truly coming to an understanding that you and I are brothers and sisters of one God. Now this has been a teaching that has been around for some time. He brought the teaching to us in Palestine when he came to usher in the new age at that time, which was the age of Pisces. Unfortunately, the message has been heard, but it has not been implemented.
Wait, he came in that time as in the form of the Christ? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, actually, at that time, he came his disciple, which is now a great master, the Master Jesus, was born into the world a very high initiate in the spiritual hierarchy at the time, a third degree initiate. And from the time of the birth, from the time of the baptism to the time of the crucifixion, the Lord Maitreya overshadowed Jesus and brought his teachings to the world.
We've heard that on the show before. Can you describe what overshadowing, Mark? Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah, it's the process actually by which great consciousnesses like the Lord Maitreya have in the past used advanced disciples to facilitate their work in the world as we understand it.
So what did that, like, rev up their juice? I mean, what?
It's really.
What does overshadowing do?
It's a part of the consciousness of the greater being inhabits the consciousness of the lesser being, or the disciple, and is able to work through that disciple, with the disciple lending his physical body and his etheric presence to the process.
One of the things that I do is that I'm a channel for some of the ascended masters and archangels, and Sananda, I work closely with him, and he has told me that some of the times, when he was Jesus and he was said to have called to his father, that many of the times when he talked about my father, he was talking about Lord Maitreya, who he said, was the face that he was seeing all the time. It was like keeping the physical being Jesus, like aware of his mission and just like overlighting him all the time, which I feel is happening now with many, many thousands of people on the face of the earth are being overlit now, just in asking for it, are being overlit by the masters.
It's an interesting thing that you bring up. The energies that are pouring into the world from these sources are overwhelming, and they are exhorting us. We were talking about brotherhood before. They're exhorting us that now that we understand we are one family, then we have to act as if we understand that. And of course, we may believe it. Some people do something about it. Many others talk about it. But if we actually believe it, then we have to act as if we do. And consequently, if we do believe that we are one humanity, we can't have 67% of the world's population living in poverty. That's unjust. Certainly any parent would agree with that.
The problem of poverty in the world right now is not a matter of enough resources in the world. It's really a matter of distribution. And in order for us now, in this new time, for us to create the new structures, we have to learn how to distribute, the world's resources in a much more equitable way, in order for humanity to make its next step forward.
And there's enough of everything. I mean, there's absolutely enough of everything to overflowing. Enough of everything here. Right. I mean, every child, every man, woman, child, every dog, every bird, everybody can be eating and not worrying so much about the roof over their heads and like just spending their whole lives just working just to pay rent. That is not. I agree. I mean, that's not the divine plan for us.
I don't think so.
No.
And not only that, but you find that in the so-called third world, people are deprived of the basic necessities of life. But look at us in the so-called first world, the industrialized world, where we have everything that we need. I mean, I hate to be, sound pessimistic, but let's face it, we're neurotic, we're unhappy, we have everything that we could possibly want, and yet still there's something, we're looking for something, because all of our goodies, if you will, don't seem to completely do the trick for us. There's something missing for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have crime, we wouldn't have drug use, we wouldn't have alcohol abuse, we wouldn't have any number of social ills that are rampant in the industrialized world. Maybe there's
but if we don't, there'll never be a good distribution system as far as I can tell, unless people, goods are distributed fine now in a way. They've gotten to where the money is. But unless people feel the love that this person is actually my brother, they can get anything anywhere if they want. They could, when they had that, the war in Iraq, they got, tons of equipment there in 2 days. So it's not really that the earth isn't capable of distributing stuff. It's that the love isn't there.
The awareness.
So the awareness of the experience. So what is the plan of the world teacher in terms of, awakening humankind to that experience? I mean, you can give all the distribution channels you want, but nobody's going to do it because they don't want to do it.
That's the question. We believe that he will direct humanity's attention to these very central issues in a very powerful way, and it will be, which we believe is very, very soon now. Maitreya has been making appearances all over the world. Many people around the world are aware of his presence and await his teachings.
There's a magazine that I think I mentioned earlier that Share International puts out.
Yes.
And how many people are members or subscribe to? I mean, is it throughout the world millions of people, or 8 to 10, or no?
I mean, its best days are yet to come. Not as a magazine because it's already quite fine. But
no, I've read it. It's a beautiful magazine. I mean, but does it reach a large population?
It reaches around 25 to 30,000 people worldwide. Still relatively.
How many languages is it in?
It's in three languages, as I understand.
So is this process supposed to be picking up steam, or is it sometimes I know we've had people on the show and they talk about angel time, and it could be 300 years from now.
As the awareness of Maitreya's presence among us grows, obviously the circulation of Share International may grow, and it may not, depending if that's where the awareness of the people go.
What is this being, this one who obviously is very powerful? What does he say about self-mastery, about each of us becoming masters on this earth and learning how to do those same things and bring ourselves into the initiations to become Christs on the earth?
Right. That, of course, as you probably know, happens to each of us in our turn in a succession of lives. However, he has certain suggestions that he makes, and they are very simple, or rather they seem simple, but they're detachment, honesty of mind, and sincerity. Sincerity of spirit. Now, that sounds very simple, but of course...
It's like that old joke, that's easy for you to...
There you go. There you go. If you're like me and most other people I know, of course, what do? We think one thing, we say another, and we do yet another. So bringing those into line brings a certain focus, a certain spiritual focus into the personality.
Are there any tools that he would recommend that would enable a person to kind of line those three up in some sort of area?
It's meditation. Meditation is
and he is help people by giving a certain form of meditation?
No, but there are very many meditations as we know in the world, and each of them is designed to. Different people have different sort of things that they need to get out of meditation, so there are various techniques.
You have a real strong feeling that this is Maitreya, and so is there a method that each of you have in your own silent communion, in your practice of reaching him? Because I don't imagine you know how to track when he's going to appear physically anywhere. He sort of pops up here and there, apparently.
Well, he says do not run after him.
Good.
He says, do not chase me. He's not here to start a new religion, or he's here really to break down the old ideologies that exist in religions that are Christian.
He doesn't want devotees or
no. He doesn't. He says, if you chase me, if you run after me, you will lose me. He says, look for me in your heart. So
theoretically, it's at this point, from the Piscean Age to the Aquarian Age, the New Age, the dawning of the New Age, that this is the helper for humankind to take the over.
You can follow all the way through many millennia in human history that at the beginning of a new age, the hierarchy sends a great teacher, a spiritual teacher, to disseminate and to bring into focus the energies for that particular age and the teachings which come along in that particular step, that particular rung on the ladder that humanity is on. And these age cycles run approximately 2,150 years long.
And how do people know this? They're just
Well,
They're not.
It's scientific. It's really, you can go to any
astrological.
It's astrological.
It's more than that.
And astronomical.
The Earth, the solar system comes into alignment with one or another of the constellations of the zodiac. So we're moving out of alignment with the constellation of Pisces and into alignment with the constellation of Aquarius. Hence the influence.
And that has a different influence and a different energy on the planets.
Right. They're called in the teachings of Dakul and the Alice Bailey writings. He has many teachings regarding the rays, the 7 rays. The age of Pisces is 6th ray in nature, and the 6th ray is the ray of idealism and devotion. And you can see this. You can see how this idealistic, devotional energy has worked through humanity in the last 2,000
In the
years.
Christ age, kind of, when Jesus came, he brought that kind of energy.
Right.
The
Well,
Jesus-
not he disseminated. That energy comes from that constellation, and the spiritual hierarchy of the planet disseminates that energy and brings it down into the physical plane, and so now, as our solar system is now coming out of the influence of this 6th ray energy, Pisces, and we are now moving into the age of Aquarius, which is symbolized in the zodiac as the water carrier, and this is what Maitreya will be known as, and is known as the water carrier, because he is he disseminates these great powerful energies that are now increasing in frequency on a daily, moment-to-moment basis. These energies are coming in and breaking down the old order, and we can see that with the changes, the many great changes that are taking place around the world. These changes are taking place because of the new energies that are coming into the planet on an ever increasing frequency.
Does he say anything about the photon belt, which some people call just like particles of light? Huge, that scientists have actually, they're tracking it. It isn't just the spiritual community, but the scientific community has seen this in the last, they're not really making it well known yet. I think a lot of people might be afraid of it, but we are actually moving in as an Earth, as a being, into a field of light that will change consciousness. And it has to do with the Christ grids and just all this kind of, this movement, which they say possibly could be very intense and actually almost force might not be a good word, but very persuade very strongly people to all of us, to humanity, to let go of old patterns and release, which is what's happening now. We release the old because third dimension is being dismantled in a sense. And we're moving into another dimension via this photon belt.
Well,
does he ever talk about any of this?
I don't know that he's ever spoken about specifically. However, the incoming energies of Aquarius are those of synthesis. So we have that difficult period right now in between the ages, if you will, where we're seeing the breakdown of Piscean energies, which tend to crystallize, which hold us into fundamentalist belief patterns, into various kinds of parochialism of one sort or another. Everybody is set in their ways. But the energy of Aquarius contradicts that in a way, or it builds upon it. It synthesizes, and so consequently that which was opposed doesn't necessarily fall into one, but finds common ground whereby they can agree to differ, if at very least, or find new ways of bridging the gaps between them.
Sun and the moon. And everything else.
We're going to get a clip in a little while, but why don't you try to explain to people who are not as familiar how would you define the spiritual hierarchy?
Well, the spiritual hierarchy of the planet actually comes from it's an evolutionary process. There are, as we know in the physical world, there are 4 kingdoms in nature: the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the human kingdom. The 5th kingdom in nature would be the spiritual hierarchy. Each kingdom above the one below it helps and aids in the evolution of the one below it. In other words, the mineral kingdom is evolving into the vegetable kingdom is evolving into the animal kingdom, and so on. And we as humanity...
No one goes back the other way?
No.
Because actually some people, it looks like some people are trying.
And some people should, but...
I can definitely, I think it's really obvious now, you can definitely see the animal kingdom moving into the human kingdom because the animals are getting so close to us now. This is my experience, and I've talked to others too. They can almost, there's like there's interspecies communication now, like never before, and there's just a certain kind of linking, like an interlinking with the animals and the humans. Like they follow us now. They're like more like us.
Vegetables often follow us too.
Well,
to your plate. They follow
certain kinds of eggplant.
Follow you right into the frying pan.
Obviously the animal kingdom through the mind of man, because there's a direct contact. I mean, the effect of our mentality on animals is very clear, down to the way we train our dogs and whatnot. Anyway, back to the spiritual hierarchy. They are known to us as disciples and initiates, and you can't give me the name of a man or a woman that has had a profound impact on human culture, society, or civilization without giving me the name of an initiated disciple of one degree or another. We know them: Beethoven, Mozart, Shakespeare, Churchill, Gandhi, Darwin, all of them, Einstein, all of them were initiated disciples of one degree or another.
Be it know it to them or not. Many of them have no awareness of the spiritual hierarchy, but indeed...
So if they didn't know, how do you guys know? This is a general question to see.
Well, because it was just their karma. You know, you don't need to be aware that you are on. Many people are on a spiritual path that you can never point to and say that person is a spiritual person, but yet they're out in the world doing great good for mankind. But
so anybody doing great good is, I mean,
who isn't?
Precisely.
Who isn't? I mean, we're all everyone here is spiritual beings.
But the spiritual hierarchy, as people talk about, aren't they talking about like the ascended masters?
Absolutely. They're known as the ascended masters,
and that means
the Illuminati, the Great White Brotherhood. These are great men and women who
Why
are...
did you say the Illuminati?
The Illuminati, that's just one of the many names that they're known as, that they're referred to as.
That's new to me. That's not, I mean, that's a different thing that I've been aware of. And that maybe it's just another word that you call
it's
it.
just, no, I
You're
don't...
not talking about the political leaders.
No,
You're not talking about
not the Illuminati,
Okay,
with
please.
political...
You're having semantic difficulty.
Make it clear for
No, that's just one of the many names that have been referred to them. I prefer to refer to them as the Great White Brotherhood, or the Ascended Masters, the Masters of Wisdom. They have gone through this evolutionary path that we are all on, a spiritual path back to the Father's house, and through a series of 5 great initiations have attained a state of spiritual awareness that is far beyond anything that we sitting here could comprehend.
And these people are here to help humankind.
Correct. Yeah, they aid in the evolution of the planet, of humanity, and of all the kingdoms below us. That is really a great part of the story, actually, too, Alan, is that it is not only Maitreya himself that is in the world now, but many of his masters, disciples under him. These are masters in every aspect of our lives. And
So we're getting a lot of help because we need it.
exactly, we need lots of help.
Mark, we got that clip coming up of Benjamin Creme. Why don't you talk a little about it and introduce it for everybody, because you're more familiar with it, I guess, than anybody here. Sure. Certainly, Constantia and I don't want to, because you too, but...
Okay. This is a clip that is extracted from a previous interview with Mr. Creme. In it, he has spoken publicly about the reappearance of the Christ for, I should say the world teacher, that's much better, for something like 20 years now. And in this clip, he will be describing what happens on the day of declaration, as it's known, when, after having been invited to speak publicly by the world's media, Maitreya is able to contact us each.
Okay, it's just a short clip, so whenever...
When this demand is loud enough, the media are responding enough, he will hold a great press conference within the media, to which he will present his credentials and expects then to be invited to speak to the whole world, now avowedly as the world teacher. That will be the day of declaration. That will be an extraordinary day. The television networks of the world will be linked together by satellite, which are there for this purpose. All eyes will see him, as it says in the Bible. So the only way in which it is possible for that Bible prophecy to be fulfilled, all eyes will see him, wherever you have television. But he won't actually speak. He would say a word, but his thoughts, ideas, his call to humanity for justice, for sharing, for brotherhood, and therefore for peace, will take place silently, telepathically. And each of us will hear him inwardly in our own language. But at the same time, his energy, the Christ principle, the Christ consciousness, the second aspect of the divinity, will flow through the hearts of all humanity. He said it will be as if I embrace mankind. And he said people will feel it even physically. And this will bring about an intuitive, heartfelt response to the message. And at the same time, on the outer physical plane, there will be hundreds of thousands of spontaneous miracle cures all over the planet. And in these three ways, you will know that that one is the world teacher.
Right. Well, the clip is pretty self-explanatory. If there's a question based on any information in the clip, I'd be more than happy to answer it.
You're giving us back the ball. Have you ever met Benjamin Creme?
Yes.
So have you been over, he's been over in England, is that right?
He lectures twice yearly in the United States. He does a lecture tour, but he lives in London, where he is with his wife and his family. His wife is an educator, and he, by trade, is an artist, and to my mind, quite a fine artist, a painter.
Mr. Creme was contacted in mid-1950s by one of the masters in the spiritual hierarchy. And at that point, he was asked quite voluntarily if he would like to have a part in playing, a part in putting out the message.
I mean, he was contacted telepathically or by mail? Or?
Yeah, no, it was telepathic. And he was asked if he would like to play a role in putting out the message of the reappearance. And he has been doing so ever since. He went through many years of training of making the telepathic link between him and his master a very strong one, whereas now it is so strong that the master looks...
Meaning Lord Maitreya?
No, it is. Oh. It's not Maitreya. It is one of Maitreya's disciples. One of the masters is not. It is not the Lord Maitreya. He originally just started giving lecture in London concerning just to the local people in the community there where he lives, and then he was asked to affirm his conviction a little bit stronger, and his master requested him to go out and to speak more publicly concerning the reappearance. Now,
he didn't want to embarrass himself at the beginning. He just wasn't.
It was just a matter of preparation.
Right. He needed to be more prepared.
Right, it was preparatory in nature. Now, to give a little bit more background to the Day of Declaration, you see, the Masters and the Christ live by a very, very stringent cosmic rule, and that is the rule which governs our free will. They cannot just, the Christians await the Christ to just come out of the sky. And he would do nothing of the kind. It would terribly infringe our free will. And it's basically that is just symbolic in nature. The Christ is awaiting an invitation to come
Christ
forward.
meaning Lord Maitreya.
Right. The world teacher.
The world teacher. Yeah, I mean, we just, it's just hard for people to follow all the different terms, with all the different, there's so much history with the Christ and Jesus Christ. And so, yeah, okay, let's just try to call it the world teacher.
The world teacher. He needs to be to implement this free will that we have. He must be invited. And by agency of the world media, he's waiting for an invitation.
I told you he's welcome on the show.
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
Some space.
Well, there he is.
21st.
The issue is that he actually has, as I understand it, been invited and has accepted the invitation, although I'm not sure which network has done it, but the world media is the means by which humanity communicates with itself, and so consequently they are our representatives in a matter like this. He can't infringe our free will simply because we do have it. We are free or not to accept the kind of counsel that he'll suggest, or we can reject it. We would reject it, of course, to our own detriment and to our own peril, but still.
So on this Day of Declaration, I mean, there's supposed to be, the thing that when I was reading the literature that was really amazing to me is that everyone is going to hear the message in their own language, whether they're watching a television or not watching a television.
Right.
That will be, people will get the point that this is a very powerful being.
Right, that is what is referred to as he will overshadow all of humanity. And he calls it, he says, I will embrace into my heart all of humanity. And this may be an experience that you were alluding to earlier, that really mankind needs to have an interconnectedness feeling, a spiritual experience
of the oneness of this.
Right, in order for us to realize that, not just by verbiage, but to really realize within our hearts that we are indeed one humanity. And I believe that this experience of the Day of Declaration will directly bring that to our hearts.
Is there any indication of a time frame?
Soon,
they always say.
Is that human time, angel time, by the end of the weekend, Labor Day?
And spiritual hierarchy
forthwith. The Masters work on time sets of 2,000 years, so a few years to them is like a little.
Right, I know. Is it going to be posthumously for us?
No, I don't think so.
He has been ready. He has been ready to come into the world since 1992. Under the right 82, I'm sorry. Under the right circumstances, given the invitation, he will come forward. But it's up to many of us who believe in the story to do something about it, to write your congressman, to say that there is this great teacher in the world that is known about, to write the media. Many of the media have been well versed and know his presence in the world, and it's up to us to invoke him to come forward, and he's ready to do so at that time,
and up to them to act.
And we believe it is very, very soon.
Do you think the humankind is internally or externally making that?
He wouldn't be here if we weren't. He knows inwardly that we need this next step.
Okay, so I guess the show's we're running out of time like we do every week. It's amazing how fast the hour goes.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you for having us. Thank you both.
And if there are any questions, you can always call us. We've been getting a lot of calls about all the guests, and if you have any, you want any information, you can call. There's a number that scrolls at the end of the show. We'll give you all the information about the Tara Center, Share International. Actually, a lot of this information is on the internet. I pulled it off the internet. I got it through Prodigy and CompuServe, and so it's really been a wonderful show, so thank you. Good night, God bless, and see you next week. Bye-bye now.